Then the Lord said to Moses, "Cut 2 tablets of stone like the first, and I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you smashed when you learned of Israel's idolatry. So be ready by morning, and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai, and present yourself there to me, on the top of the mountain. No man is to come up with you, nor let any man be seen anywhere on the mountain, nor let flocks or herds feed in front of that mountain." So Moses cut 2 tablets of stone, like the first ones, and he got up early in the morning, and went up on Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, and took the 2 tablets of stone in his hand. Then the Lord descended in the cloud, and stood there with Moses, as he proclaimed the name of the Lord. Then the Lord passed by in front of him, and proclaimed, the Lord God, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in loving kindness and truth, faithfulness, keeping mercy and loving kindness for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. But he will by no means leave the guilty unpunished, visiting, avenging the iniquity, sin, guilt of the fathers upon the children and the grandchildren, to the 3rd and 4th generations, that is, calling the children to account for the sins of their fathers. Moses bowed to the earth immediately, and worshipped the Lord. And he said, "If now I have found favour and loving kindness in your sight, O Lord, let the Lord please go in our midst, though it is a stiff-necked, stubborn, rebellious people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as your possession." Then God said, "Behold, I am going to make a covenant. Before all your people I will do wondrous works, miracles, such as have not been created or produced in all the earth, nor among any of the nations. And all the people among whom you live shall see the working of the Lord, for it is a fearful and awesome thing that I am going to do with you. Be sure to observe what I am commanding you this day. Behold, I am going to drive out the Amorite before you, and the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Watch yourself, so that you do not make a covenant, solemn agreement, treaty, with the inhabitants of the land into which you are going, or it will become a dangerous trap among you. But you shall tear down and destroy their pagan altars, smash in pieces their sacred pillars, obelisks, images, and cut down their Asherim. For you shall not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous, impassioned God, demanding what is rightfully and uniquely his. Otherwise you might make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they would play the prostitute with their gods, and sacrifice to their gods, and someone might invite you to eat his sacrifice meal, and you might take some of his daughters for your sons, and his daughters would play the prostitute with their gods, and cause your sons also to play the prostitute, commit apostasy with their gods. That is, abandon the true God for man-made idols. You shall make for yourselves no molten gods. You shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, Passover. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, as I have commanded you, at the appointed time, in the month of Abib, for in the month of Abib you came out of Egypt. All the firstborn males among your livestock belong to me, whether cattle or sheep. You shall redeem the firstborn of a donkey with a lamb. But if you do not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. You shall redeem all the firstborn of your sons. None of you are to appear before me empty-handed. You shall work for 6 days, but on the 7th day you shall rest, even in ploughing time and in harvest. You shall rest on the Sabbath. You shall observe and celebrate the Feast of Weeks, harvest, first fruits, or Pentecost, the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering, booths or tabernacles, at the year's end. 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel. For I will drive out and dispossess nations before you, and enlarge your borders, nor shall any man covet, actively seek for himself your land, when you go up to appear before the Lord your God 3 times a year. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, nor shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover, unleavened bread, be left over until morning. You shall bring the very first of the firstfruits of your ground to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in his mother's milk, as some pagans do. Then the Lord said to Moses, Write these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel. Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He ate no bread and drank no water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hand, he did not know that the skin of his face was shining with a unique radiance, because he had been speaking with God. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to approach him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him, and he spoke to them. Afterward, all the Israelites approached him, and he commanded them to do everything that the Lord had said to him on Mount Sinai. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil over his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would take off the veil until he came out. When he came out, and he told the Israelites what he had been commanded by God, the Israelites would see the face of Moses, how his skin shone with a unique radiance. So Moses put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with God.